This is truly not how I wanted to meet you guys, and this is not how I expected to meet you guys. But this is how I am meeting you guys, and I'm truly thankful for that. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Atinosa. I'm a lifestyle content creator who is sharing some of my experiences and hopefully being your cheerleader along the way. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my story of getting laid off, the questions that I've asked myself, and some of the tips and tricks I think that will be very helpful for you to move past that layoff. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around and let's jump into this video. I think the hardest thing about talking about my layoff is, for me personally, this is the first time that I've ever been laid off from any job. A little bit about my background. So I have my degrees in health sciences and I have a master's in education administration. And I have spent the last 6 years, what years? I started my position in 2016 and it's 2024. So what is that? The last 8 years in the education sector. I was a college advisor in a high school, and then I transitioned into getting my master's in the university college setting. And then the last job that I recently left earlier this year, I was there for about 4 years. I was in an industry that felt very safe, felt very secure. The job security was there. But as any job, you kind of reach your limits on what you can and cannot do. I'm the type of person who is very ambitious, who is very creative, who needs to be able to learn new skills and push myself. And I want an opportunity to do that and try new things. I felt like in my last position, I got to a point where I felt stuck, that I was just doing extra things just because on top of my regular role, and it just became too much. I've always had a passion for marketing, digital marketing, specifically social media. I think my strengths really lie in strategy, operations, and then on top of that, social media and marketing. So my heart was really longing for an opportunity to work into that space. And I had really gotten to a place mentally where my self-image and my self-worth and my self-confidence was shot, because I just felt like, because I didn't go to school for marketing or journalism or anything in the creative field, that I wasn't equipped to do the position. I was taught from a very early and young age that education was going to be the thing that's going to, take me to the mountaintops. And as I developed in my career and saw the reality of the world and how people were navigating the world and the job market and their careers, I started to understand that you always have to be a learner. You can learn anything. There are certifications, there are certificates, there's the internet, YouTube University, top tier, and then there's passion on top of that thing. And then there's, on top of all of that, is just like talent and what you crave and kind of what you just align with. And so as I started to understand more and more about the world and all the things that were possible to me, it was just like my heart was just longing to be in a different situation. So earlier this year, I got the opportunity, a job came across my lap and I was super excited about it, and so I applied, and it was being a social media marketer, and it was for like a startup, and I was just super excited because I knew I was good at learning. I can learn anything. I have the capacity to really learn, deep dive, and I will put my best foot forward every single time. So I was more than confident to take the position, and I did. So that was probably the most exciting part, where I was like, wow, like I am leaving an industry that I have known for so long, that provides security, stability, a steady paycheck, but that is not where my heart is. So I left that position and went somewhere else, and it was such a good run. I learned about my city. I got to understand the inner workings of the social media layout as an industry, right? Not just from the outside as a content creator or influencer, but truly on like the corporate side of these things, and on top of that, on the startup side of it, which I thought was so interesting, so fascinating. And I just gained all this experience by being in this new position. So fast forward a short time, and I was promoted to be a marketing director, which I was like, oh my gosh, like dreams really do come true. And I'm super excited for this position after only really working there for like six weeks maybe. And I was like, wow, like I'm really blending my passion for marketing and strategic marketing and campaigns and social media and digital marketing, and this professional side of being able to manage a team and simplify operations and streamline processes. And I was like, oh, this is the place I need to be, and I thank God every single day for that opportunity. And the more I got more invested in the company, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm going to be working with these people for a little bit of time, because it was also the most amount of money that I've made in my career. So that was also very exciting to me. And I had some financial goals that I was excited to really tackle. And I started building towards those things. I started to get comfortable. I was like, I really enjoy this. There's so much room for me to learn and to grow. And I was just feeling like I was in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. And it was a glorious, glorious feeling. I felt like my self-confidence was boosted, my self-worth was validated, my skill set and my talents were seen for what they were. And I was being promoted to a place that really fit not only my personality, but it also fit my skill set and chef's kiss. But like anything, I don't want to say but like anything, but my world came crashing down. I was laid off, which seems like a very abrupt decision because I can vividly remember the day before where I was, running meetings and helping people and figuring out how to do reviews and figuring out like platforms and all those things. And I just thought it was just a normal day like every other day had been. And so when I woke up that morning and I was at the gym and I'm getting a call from an old colleague talking about meetings are being put on people's calendars, I was just taken by surprise. I was shocked, truly shocked. But fast forward an hour after that call and I jumped on my 15-minute block and I was let go. I was laid off. And that was that. Everything activated. There was no goodbye. There was no closure. There was no real reason as to why. It just, things went left, right, center, I don't know. And I am a product of whatever went wrong. And I think going into that meeting, I just was like, whatever's going to happen in this meeting is going to happen. And after that, I just started bawling my eyes out. I was honestly so sad. I think the thought that really ran into my head was, one, I was just very confused. I just didn't understand why. I just felt like I just started. I was just getting into the groove of things. Things were seemingly going well from my perspective. And two, it was just this aspect of like, oh my gosh, like who am I? Who am I now? I don't know. I've never been put in this position. What do I do now? And the three questions that ran through my head was, why me? Why now? And what do I do next? The why me question is one of those questions that you could just circulate on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and go nowhere. That is how you literally spiral. I will never get closure. You might never get closure to the question, why me? Was I not performing? Did people have a bad taste about me? Was I not well liked? Was I not a good fit for the company? What was it? Like, why me? There's so many other people in this company, but why me, right? It just feels like a personal vendetta against you, a personal attack to your professionalism, to you as a person. And when you can't ask those questions of why me, it just makes you feel like a number. It makes you feel like you're just another person who is doing busy work and they need to get rid of somebody, and so they chose you. It's like they pulled your name out of the hat. And that is one of the most debilitating ideas, because it's like, I could go and think about every piece of work that I did. Was it not up to their standards? Did it not come in on time? Was it X, Y, and Z? Did I not reply to this? Did I not do that? Blah, blah, blah. Did people, whatever it is, right? Like, it just keeps going and going and going. So the why me question is one of those questions that I really encourage you to get to a point that says, like, it's not you. And even if you are just a number, which sounds bad, that's the name of the game, right? You also have to think about why now? That's the other question that went through my head. Why now? I think the thing about layoffs that people need to really understand is that in order for a company to be making layoffs like this for any reason, is because either they didn't meet revenue goals or whatever metrics that they're using to justify the amount of employees that they have hired to do a certain amount of work. And either they deem whatever the work that you're doing no longer valuable to the company, or they haven't made their revenue. Those decisions are going to affect the livelihood and the work of the people doing it. And sometimes it's just in the data. Why now? Layoffs happen all the time. They can happen where maybe you know it's coming down the line, you can trickle it out, or in my case where it's very random, it doesn't seem like anything was wrong. And yeah, it's just random, right? It's just random. And it's another question that you, again, might not get closure for, and that can be so frustrating, especially when you have no control over this. It just feels like your life was just pulled apart very abruptly, and that's what happened. That's the truth. And it's like no and or buts. That is what happened. Your life was pulled apart very abruptly, and depending on where you are in life and what you're doing in life and what goals you have in life, that layoff is going to derail that. And It is very scary. It's very confusing. It's very upsetting to think that there was no control, there was no planning, there was no consideration of yourself or whatever you have going on. But I couldn't really spend too much time of why now, because no time would have been a great time. It didn't matter if I knew it was coming down the pipeline or I felt it in the air. No time was going to be a good time. And that is the closure that I told myself for that question. Why now? I don't know. But no time was going to be a good time to get laid off. The last question that I think is really important for us to really get into is, so what happens now? What happens now? You're laid off, you ain't got no job, and you think to yourself, what do I do now? Who am I? I'm heartbroken. I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm upset. And those are very big feelings to have that can just consume you. Trust and believe. I have been through all of the emotions. I'm surprised I'm still here. I'm surprised I'm talking to y'all right now about the situation without tears in my eyes. And I just think it's a true testament of some of the things that I've incorporated in my life that I think are going to be very beneficial to anybody who's experiencing the layoff to get back to just your equilibrium. So let's get into it. So what happens now? My first thing that I will tell you is start a routine. Start a routine. It's going to be so easy for you to just lay in bed in the darkness and just sulk and be sad and overthink and think, why me? Why now? Why me? Why now? Why me? Why now? Why me? Why now? Why me? You don't know. You're not going to get closure, unfortunately. And I don't want to say that in a weird, mean way, but asking yourself those questions over and over is not helping you move forward. So start a routine. I'm not saying that your routine has to be extremely elaborate where you wake up at 4 a.m. and you go to the gym and you da-da-da-da and you start your self-improvement journey all over again. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying start something. Get to some point of the day that gets you out of bed, that gets you looking forward to something that brings you just a little bit of joy. My one thing that I started with in my routine is get to the coffee. Why get to the coffee? Because I love drinking coffee. I love drinking coffee. I love the smell of coffee. I love the habit of coffee. I love making it. And it just at least lets me slow down and think about life. It allows me to say, what do you need to do in order to get to the coffee? And that included waking up, getting out of bed, putting some clothes on, walking the dog, and then getting to the coffee. Your morning routine or whatever routine you decide to choose can be so simple with one thing as the goal. I'm telling you that if you can start incorporating some type of routine, you are going to start to slowly feel better. For me personally, I started to get to the coffee, and I'm not gonna lie, it was very hard. Getting out of bed, 1. Putting clothes on that I did not want to put on, 2. Taking my dog out because he needed to be taken out and walking around my building, that was the worst. But then being able to come back and get to my coffee was like, I felt like I accomplished something that day. I think there's a thing about layoffs that you lose a piece of your identity, or you feel like you lose a piece of your identity, and you start to question things. My next tip and trick to get back to your equilibrium is start with saying a positive affirmation, a mantra, or just like a slogan. Truly, for a couple days, all my slogan was is get to the coffee. It was a reminder to myself that I needed to feel like I'm accomplishing something. And it was the motivation that got me out of bed. It was the motivation that put my clothes on. It was the motivation that I didn't wait until 11 a.m. to walk my dog. Start with that. Start with something that is easy to work on, to work towards. There's so many affirmations out there that are like very complex, that are manifestations of bigger goals. And when you're just like down bad in a rut of this layoff, sometimes you just need to get to the coffee. Sometimes you just need to put the outfit on, just get clean, something that is simple. And as you continue to do that, as you continue to say your affirmations, your mantras, and your slogan, as you continue to incorporate that into your routine, you are going to start to find out that it gets easier and easier and easier. It gives you the opportunity to go into autopilot, right? You're creating new habits for yourself so that you don't have to continue asking yourself those never-ending, non-closure questions. You're focused on the routine. You're focused on accomplishing something else for your own personal growth. The last thing that I'll say that I started to do, and that I think is super beneficial to everybody out there, is please reach out to your friends. Please reach out to your family. Please do not isolate yourself. One thing that I have learned in this layoff was just being vulnerable with everybody about what happened. It is not fun to share that, oh, I just got promoted the other day and actually I got laid off today. That's not fun. but it is one of the most necessary things so that you understand that you are not alone in this journey. This is an experience that many people have had for themselves and have seen themselves through to the other side. People will come out of the woodworks to support you, to connect you, to network with you, to talk with you. And I have never felt so loved and supported in my entire career. It's amazing how many people see you or saw you for your talent, saw you for your wisdom, saw you for your professionalism, and are willing to make recommendations, speak positively on your behalf. All because you were laid off does not mean that you were a bad employee or you didn't get your work done. Layoffs are a lot of times out of your control, but there are people who saw you for who you are, saw you for the work, saw the value that you brought, and they will continue to see that and speak about you in rooms that you could have never imagined. So I really encourage you, no matter how you want to do that, if it's calling just a few close friends, if it's calling your family, if it's putting it on social media like me, I'm crazy. Whatever your avenue is, please, please, please reach out. Don't isolate yourself. Find people to talk to. I'm telling you, it will remind you who you are. It will remind you that you get to have feelings, you get to share those feelings, and it will give you that outlet. It is just so important not to isolate yourself during this time. I am not going to lie, I have to force myself, but you have a little bit extra time right now. You can go meet up with your friend for lunch, you can go out a little bit, you just have a little bit more energy to do those things. That is one thing that I'm realizing, that with being so consumed with work, you don't have that much time for your friends. You don't have that much time for your family. You don't even have that much time for your pet, your dog. And it's one of the weird benefits of being laid off, because then you get to just appreciate some of the little things, right? You appreciate the extra time that you have to just take a walk, enjoy the sky, enjoy outside, enjoy some food, whatever it is. If I were to ever get laid off again, hopefully never, but there's a high likelihood that it might happen again because that is the state of the economy. Those are the 3 things that I'll always remember to do. Find a basic routine to start. Start saying positive affirmations, mantras, or a slogan, and reach out to my friends. And I refuse to isolate. I know layoffs are not fun for anyone, and I hope that sharing my story about my layoff, what I went through, what I was thinking emotionally and mentally was helpful to you, and sharing some of the tips and tricks how I'm getting back to myself is something that you can incorporate in your life. If you've been affected by a layoff and you are just looking for a new opportunity, or you're looking for some encouragement, please leave a comment below. And make sure to subscribe to this channel and like it. I'm coming back, and hopefully we can reconnect again on more positive life experiences. But I need to see you soon.